What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about Rezolve AI. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what's been really moving, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So at the time of doing this video is down 4.38%, 296 the low, 316 the high, and 3.9 million shares being traded. 13.7 is the average. No news from Rezolve today. Last news was on the 12th, and no SEC filings. Of course, since the 12th, they did put out a lot of fireside chat. So they did RBC, Roth KM, a couple, I think, unofficial ones as well. That was primarily through YouTube. So they've been getting their name out there. Since then, they've kind of gone radio silent, which is normal, I guess, in some cases. But today, they are getting dragged down with the broader market, and that's primarily through algorithmic trading. So a lot of the data that did come out, which in my opinion, as I've openly mentioned, in theory right now, a lot of this American data shouldn't really affect Rezolve. I know Rezolve really wants to enter the American market, and kind of their big plan is either through Tether, that's one avenue, or the other is going to be through Elizabeth, so that new executive. But a lot of this data that came out today shows more signs of labor cracking, although this data does justify a rate cut. So now there is a 84.7% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut for the upcoming December 10th meeting. But now a lot of investors and institutions are starting to digest everything. And so they're starting to look at, hey, does this rate cut or potential rate cut justify, and will it kind of offset all of the fear linked to labor? And so you kind of have this back and forth. Right now, you're seeing a little bit of a pullback, but nonetheless, though, looking at shorts, they are increasing about 1.34 million shares. And going back over here, we are only seeing about 3.9 million in volume right now. So shorts are making up for a good chunk of the volume, and that's been more of a common scenario overall. But 5.28% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 8.2 million shares overall being shorted. This definitely isn't a squeeze play in my opinion, only because I think Rezolve has been very transparent, which is, I guess, a good thing about their guidance for 2025 and 2026. I think now people are just waiting to see if they are going to hit. And regrettably with Rezolve, I feel like it would be a different circumstance if they had quarterly earnings, but they have semi-annual. So we pretty much have to wait until February to find out how they are doing. So that's kind of the negative thing. It'd be very advantageous if they voluntarily did that quarterly earnings, but it seems like Rezolve is trying to stay as quiet as possible, possibly. But nonetheless, though, aside from all that fun stuff, you're not really seeing that much in institutional transactions. So only one today on the secondary market, and it is a sell for 446,000. So as I mentioned, most of the Rezolve is getting moved through algorithmic trading as well as shorts. So big money is not really buying the Rezolve dip. These are some of the transactions that so far have occurred on this dark pool above $100,000. Given how active shorts are, it is fair to assume that all of these transactions are linked to them. Aside from all that, looking at the options, we're seeing about 3,300 in calls, 5,700 in puts, so extremely low volume. And this has actually been more of a common occurrence with Rezolve. So you can kind of see that right down here, how we were maybe in the high triple digit. We did have occasionally the 1 million plus, but like we're getting like chump change today. So I'll be surprised if we hit kind of 200,000 overall. But definitely, I think people are just, there's a lot of different opportunities out there, right? And Rezolve, even at its peak, was very speculative in nature. So I think just people are kind of gravitating towards other things. 70% of all the options being done today are bearish in nature. From a bull standpoint, again, factoring in that there's not really much volume, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around $3 plus. That's kind of the bulls and what they are thinking. Bears are feeling that's going to be sub 3, but there's absolutely no long-term activity. It looks like it's just being traded week by week. So again, nothing really crazy if you ask me. With it right now at 307, it is trading between this S2 and this S3. So 313 is going to be that key pivot. You really want to watch for it to get over in the short term if you are going to see any sort of recovery. Then flip side 179 is going to be that next strong support. So it's kind of right now staring off of a virtual cliff, which is rather crazy considering the crazy momentum. And for those of you that are new to the channel, I'm not here to hype you up. I'm just here to go over the data and give you a realistic viewpoint on what might be coming next. Because again, for those of you that tuned into a lot of my videos in the past, I accurately called all of this kind of push higher as well as this downtrend. So it's very advantageous just to look at the data and what is moving Rezolve. And so right now, institutions don't really want anything to do with Rezolve right now, and it's just getting moved through algorithmic trading. Luckily enough, though, it is holding that 200-day moving average. So I think in order for it to really push higher, you need something concrete from the company. And if you kind of think about it, yes, getting a executive to start expansion within the US, it shouldn't overly take too long. So I do anticipate some news. Again, if let's say by end of or kind of first week of December, if we don't hear anything, then it is fair to assume that things are just being delayed and maybe Elizabeth isn't getting as much traction as she originally planned. So I think in general, it's just more of an unfortunate type of scenario. On a positive note though, because of the recent fireside chats, Dan did give a brief demo of the actual product. I know that was a very big concern for a lot of bears, including myself. I wouldn't really call myself a bear, but that was one of my kind of concerns as well, is that I wanted to see the product in action. And so at least we got a demo out of the last week and a half. So that's kind of a good thing. But nonetheless, I'm looking more so for concrete expansion into the US. So I feel like that's going to be a good thing. Aside from all of that though, on the actual chart, it is currently above that 10-day moving average, signaling that it still has a little bit of momentum. It looks like it's starting to push a little bit lower, so it might break below that. So that is currently the 10-day moving average at $3. That 200-day moving average is sitting at 307. So it's kind of flirting with that today. Looking at the latest news and articles, there's absolutely nothing coming out associated to Rezolve. You see some clearly just tagging Rezolve's name in these two last articles, which came out on the 20th. Aside from that, though, it's just kind of the 18th and onward. So there has been nothing recent for news. Looking at the market position, though, you do see a little bit more of like willing buyers up to about that 280 range. So if let's say Rezolve does break below that, then you could see a little bit more of a further push lower. Aside from that, there hasn't been any new analyst ratings. The ones that did come out recently though are bullish though, so you've seen nothing but buys, but still I think bigger picture people are looking for a little bit more. So let me know your thoughts on Rezolve. Are you buying? Are you selling? Where do you realistically see things going? And one thing that I will do is maybe in my next Rezolve video, I'll give you my 2026 predictions, and I'll give you a bull case as well as a bear case. So again, bull case is assuming that Rezolve can hit their guidance. Bear case is not so much. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And then one final thing, pop over to my stacked account. I do have Black Friday promotion, so I lowered the prices of the swing trade and buy alert tiers. So if you're wanting some solid day trades, swing trades, worthwhile to kind of pop over there and check that out. Only up until, like I said, Black Friday. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.